That's preparing to live stream.
Oh, I'm not gonna click OK.
Says we're live now, Bobby.
Yep, I see it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, race fans. I am your host, Bobby. We've got Robert and our special guest, Ray Stevens. How we doing?
What's going on, everybody?
Doing good.
Doing
Sorry.
well as well, Ray. We're glad to have you on as a guest finally, and looking forward to this evening's chat.
Yeah, man, super excited to jump on and give you guys a little insight into the world of Jeremy Clements racing and you know all the things Jeremy Clements.
That's awesome. Speaking of Jeremy, it's his 39th birthday today.
100%. So we all got a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jeremy.
Happy birthday.
I think I tweeted Jeremy and said you would sing him happy birthday, Ray.
I will. Don't try. Happy birthday to you, JC.
All right.
Here you go.
Hey.
Unfortunately, he's probably unfortunately, he's probably changing diapers right now. So
that is probably true.
You know, congratulations to him as well on that, I guess. So, yeah, not I guess. Congratulations. It's a little, you know, we've already said all our congratulations, and I know I talked to him a little earlier. He said eating every 3 hours is wearing on him a little bit in the middle of the night, but you know, everything's good.
So Ray, just to start it out, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got hooked up with Jeremy and all the goods?
Yeah. And where do you start? A little bit about me. I've been a race fan my whole life. Went to my first race when I was about 6 months old at Atlanta Motor Speedway. That was my home track. So Atlanta and Talladega were really the consistent tracks through the years growing up. Moved to Greenville. This is where my daughter is, and so been up here ever since. Let's see, Jeremy and how we got hooked up. We were at Charlotte Motor Speedway one day. I got a buddy who makes moonshine, and I guess somehow or another he ended up swinging through the shop and dropping some jars off in that famous refrigerator in the race shop. And so we go out, meet Jeremy, and stand by the car. And for whatever reason, I had a sticker, a Flying Form sticker in my pocket. And we were standing next to the car pre-race, and I'm like, "Hey man, can I put this on the car?" I feel like Jeremy looked at me with like 3 eyes, but he said, "Yeah." And so we put it up on the C post. And I don't know, 2-3 weeks later, he called or messaged, or I don't remember how he reached out, but said, "You want to jump on the race car maybe for Homestead?" And I was like, "Yeah, right." You know, just, you know, when you think of the dollars that are associated with sponsoring the NASCAR. But once we actually talked through everything and we worked it out and got on the car in Homestead in 2018, and we've been there since. So I think we're let's see, you got Scott Ward with One Stop, which Scott and Chuck with All South, they will be splitting cars throughout the year. They'll be on the Daytona car, they'll be on the first Atlanta car, and I'll be on that car as an associate. But Scott has been he's been sponsoring Jeremy and supporting Jeremy since Jeremy was in late models, and then Chuck with All South, I think, is his next longest sponsor, and then behind them, I think I'm his third longest sponsor. So
Awesome.
first year we were in it was Repairable was still kind of on majority of the races, And then things kind of went south in 2019 with Repairable. And that's kind of when, man, just seemed like a slew of partners jumped on board. Um, and not just partners, man, like best friends immediately. It's insane how tight knit and close we've all become just in a short amount of time.
So Ray, how you talk about the sponsors and the tight knit and all the partners and stuff? How do all the sponsors work together to help Jeremy Clements Racing function and be competitive as a small independent owned team?
Well, it all starts at the racetrack, man. Just any given race. I know it's been discussed previously, but Ryan Delaney seems to make his way to about every single race. So, fly into Watkins Glen this year, not expecting anybody to be up there, and lo and behold, there's Delaney. And but so we all just kind of. I can't even remember how it all happens, but Mark Mullen and Mark Nelson, those two guys show up to the racetrack, last year or actually I think the year before. Yeah, it was the year before. And, instantly, it's just this crazy connection with people that are just kind of like-minded, blue collar people, right? We're all kind of the same way. We go to work every day. We run successful businesses, and we're able to put our eggs in Jeremy's basket a little bit. And speaking about Jeremy real fast, circling back, he's the same way, right? Like he's going to work every day, scratching and clawing, trying to make his, trying to make it in this series. And it's just a testament to Jeremy as to why we're all supporting him as hard as we can. I know after year 2, I had to sit down and have a conversation and say, guys, listen, it was a no, right? At first year, second year, it was all fun, sponsoring Jeremy, but moving forward, why are you spending the money, right? So I had to find a way to make it make sense, and we have. But if it wasn't for Jeremy and just Jeremy being the kind of person that he is, you want to support Jeremy, you want to help Jeremy, you want to stand side by side and battle with that guy, because just he is so much like us. And so having to sit down and have that conversation saying, listen, this guy is 35 years old, he's in the prime of his career, and it's about being a part of something bigger than just flying for him. It's about supporting this guy and supporting this race team and trying to get him to put the best product on the track. And that is literally Chuck Kuhn with All South. That is Scott Ward with One Stop. I mean, the Ryan Delaney, Mark and Mark with Spartan Waste, Steve with First Pacific. I mean, you want to talk about a guy, I'm close to everybody, but Steve, man, he and I are so much alike. I mean, it's like brothers from another mother. Like just, as much as we love the races and going there, I mean, Tate with Alliance, we first met Tate, or at least I first met Tate in Chicago last year. We're in the hotel room, everybody's eating pizza, drinking, doing whatever. And, this guy, Tate, that you've never met before, he fits in. It's just crazy, right? Like, it's almost like we've got this big puzzle. And every person you add, they fit. And all they want to do is do what's best for this race team and to put Jeremy back in victory lane. And that Daytona win, what it did to all of us, just, I don't even know what the word is, that, just to be able to experience that and want to experience it again. It's crazy. We're there in Daytona, and as much as you try to soak it in, there is no soaking it in. And now it's like, okay, hunger is the word. We are hungry for another win, and that's that's part of this motor deal that we just signed. And, trying to go from, I think, 8 races last year with motors to 21 to 22 races this year with motors. Real quick, then we got, let's see, Eddie. Eddie's a longtime sponsor. He's R.E. Gordon. He's the longtime sponsor, and him and Scott, they go sit up on the hill at Talladega, and we have the best time with those guys. Woody Booze Pops. Let me tell you, Woody brings. Woody's one of my favorite people just because he brings. It's almost like he brings 30 models to the racetrack, and we got all these beautiful women sitting on the pit box, and you can never complain about that, right? So Woody's so much fun, and he comes, and the whole Booze Pop, they're pretty well in good shape by the time the race starts. Ryan Whitaker, he's another one that's just as good as gold. He's got racing in his family. They own Greenville Pickens Speedway. Sure would like to figure out a way to keep that thing preserved and somehow keep it around and not get demoed. Constantine with Nordic, he's got a pretty cool story, but he's going to jump on the car with us, 3 primaries this year. And last year, Watkins Glen, he jumped on Josh Williams' car as a primary, and they had a motor in that car. Jeremy ended up, so Nordic he's an associate sponsor on the hood of every one of our cars. Jeremy is the one who ends up getting him half of his passes for that race and puts him in the driver owner lot so Constantine can park his motor coach so he can have his guests and have a good time. So those boys over there didn't take such good care of him. And then under caution, he's not paying attention. It could have been the caution that we brought the caution out, maybe lap 10, and not paying attention and just slams the car behind him or the car in front of him. And, that day's over, right? So that's a pretty fun story. Jason with Impel, I don't know him very well. He's new. Him and Tate jumped on. But I'm sure, man, that guy between Tate and Jason with Impel, those guys have stepped up huge, and they're a big part, big asset to our team. And then Scott with Wings, etc. And I think I tried getting everybody in there. Jamie with Elite Towing, poor Jamie. He's with this motor program, he's had to double the workload this year, having to trek back and forth to Hendrick Motorsports week in, week out, so we can get dyno before the race. So, but I mean, all these guys, if we're not having a team function, we're at somebody's house, either Chuck's house in Daytona, or Jamie came to my house for 4th of July, and Jeremy and everybody were supposed to come, but conflict of interest, they had to get the Atlanta race car ready, and they worked probably till 9-10 o'clock that night to try to get it ready. So shot off a bunch of fireworks, and those guys ended up having to miss it. So so that's a little bit about me, how I kind of got involved with Jeremy, and trying to throw the boys out there and just get everybody who supports the team. Guys like Chuck and Scott, they're not going to come on a podcast, I don't think. They're a little bit older, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but everybody's such big supporters of Jeremy, and yeah.
So talking about Jamie, I just got a nice little text message.
Oh, this could be good.
He said, just remind Ray who's the best transportation company for the team.
Yeah, well, I thought he changed his name to Pee Wee somehow, but I guess that's not the case. No, I'm just playing. He is the best transportation guy around Greenville. So there on the Atlanta car, there's an associate who's Pee Wee Wrecking Service. So we were kind of messing around yesterday about it. So Elite Towing. If you want to call somebody around the Greenville, Spartanburg area, call Elite Towing.
As a sponsor, what are all the changes you've seen for the upcoming 24 season at JCR?
Whew, man, it's been the fun part of being a small team. We last year, we got the phone call that we were going to get the 99 pit crew, and we were ecstatic. I mean, Cap and
Big.
and all those guys, Kimbrell and Jarek, and I didn't write all their names down. I knew I would forget, but man, and Cap brought such a unique thing to the table because he's been in that garage for 20 years. He raps, he's got a few rap songs about being in the pits and things like that. And so just being a part of such a track house is not a little team, right? I mean, they've got they're going to change the game as far as hospitality goes at the racetrack moving forward. And just the way you see race teams in general. So it was so cool to be able to have those guys jump on board. No, we had the second fastest Cup pit crew pitting us, and Jordan Anderson swiped them from us in the off season. So he's going to pay them double, and so there you go. There's the change. So now we got to figure out. And hopefully we get Tig back. We got some guys. Evan, I can't forget Evan either. But and I'll speaking of Tig real quick. He was real modest about the whole hero thing. And let me tell you, man, that guy's a hero. And he is just like Jeremy Clements. He is the Jeremy Clements of that pit road. He is the nicest guy. You walk up to him, he acts like he's known you forever. Big bear hugs. Marshall McFadden as well. I mean, same thing. We have, anybody who's pit us, them guys, they become like brothers, and so wanted to shout out to Tig too, because I think he was a little modest about his story, and he needs to be looked at as a hero because if you don't have kids and you don't know how to pull a baby out of a car seat, somebody else help you pull that baby out of a car seat. So I got a little off track there. Let's see changes. So we got the pit crew changes. I know Jeremy's seats have to be recertified, and apparently the guy who recertifies passed away. So now we're jumping through hoops because there's nobody to recertify the seats. So sounds like he's just going to get a mold done, but I mean that's another thing. Pit crew. Gibbs starting another team at the 81. That's impacted Jeremy in certain ways as far as travel and things like that. So he's had to figure out travel. Where he could jump on a Gibbs plane, and I think there's going to be some changes there as well. So it's not like we can lock a pit crew in, right? And so those are changes coming in 24. Positive changes is the Hendrick Motors. We quite a few of us stepped up. The past 3 years, I've sponsored 3 races a year, primary, and quite a few associates. So we're gonna drop a race of primary sponsorship so we can put a motor in the Atlanta car, and in the Homestead car. So we've never had a motor at Homestead, and we've that's a tough track. You know, you got to ride the wall, you got to stay in the throttle, and you got to have horsepower. And so really looking forward to going to Homestead this year, with a fast piece. And as long as Mark doesn't get suspended, and which we've made a deal, if Mark gets suspended again, I'm crew chiefing. So I told him, I said, hey, look, it'll be Hendrick's got a real nice, man, it's crazy. They probably got 13 or 15 screens in Hendrick Motorsports. It's like this whole like war room. Mark can go sit there and just text me, and I'll just sit on the box and act like I know what I'm doing. So, but yeah, he was suspended a couple years ago, and that without having Mark at the racetrack, it affected our day from lap one. So yeah, that's a little bit of 24, what's coming. Yeah, I think I hit on just about everything.
One thing I recently saw, Ray, is Jeremy's looking for a new hauler driver.
Yeah, that was the other thing that popped up last week. Mark got flooded with messages, so I think we'll get that figured out. But you know, and Craig and Audrey, they were amazing. They've been the truck driver and his wife for the past 2 years, and Audrey would come to the track, and you know, anything hospitality she would help with. You know, that's one thing as a small team that you don't normally think about. You know, your Gibbs and your Junior Motorsports and all those teams, you know, they have someone who is dedicated to kind of hospitality, you know, showing you around, walking you through the hauler, making sure you got your headset, sitting up on the pit box and all that stuff. And we just don't have, you know, we don't have that. So I personally make it extremely hard when I bring 75 people to the racetrack at Atlanta, and you know, shuffling people out in and out, trying to show them the hauler, that, you know, and I'm doing that, you know, so I can try to show the people who I brought to the race, show them the hauler, let them meet Jeremy, show them the pit box, get them up on the pit box, put the headset on them. So for me, the fun part of sponsoring Jeremy is the races that I don't sponsor that I can go to, and you know, I can sit there and I can watch the race from the pit box or in the pits and enjoy myself. The races that I sponsor, that's a pretty stressful weekend for me, because we're bringing clients and we're bringing employees, and you know, you're just trying to show them an experience of a lifetime. And that's exactly what it is. Last year at the Atlanta race, I brought some of my partners, and they were like, oh, what are we going to do? We're going to watch cars turn left, you know, and I'm like, you know, don't be an asshole, enjoy the experience. And we, you know, we get done with the race and we're walking back to the campground, and those guys are like, dude, this might be the best experience I've ever had in my life. Like, this is the coolest thing we have ever done. And that's what it's about for us. You know, we take clients to the race, and we want to give them that experience. You know, go sit on a pit box and watch a live pit stop and tell me, oh, you want to go turn left? You know, so yeah, that's a little bit of that.
So that sort of leads me to the next question. So do the sponsors work together to recruit more partners and sponsors, or is there a specific person that does that for Jeremy, or is it like a combination of both?
So Steve Carnes with First Pacific, he does a lot with the associate sponsors. Seems like for the most part, week in and week out, he's finding associates to jump on the race car. Ryan Delaney recruited Tate with Alliance. They literally sat next to each other on the airplane last year. Sparked up a conversation. Tate's going to do like 6 races this year, I think. I mean, it's just, you know, crazy how that worked out. And then, like I said, you hang out with the guy one time and you're like, yes, dude, we got another like real cool cat, hanging out with us. But we like Twin Peaks. I got them they sponsor our race events. And I got them to jump on the race car at Pocono. So, when you get on this side of the fence and you're looking for any and every little bit of help you can get, especially now that we have the motors. Like, I think a lot of us have probably relied on Steve to get those associate sponsorships. And it just helps Jeremy, right? Just that extra little bit of money helps Jeremy. Well, now we're putting the motors in the cars. We need all the help we can get because that number was here and it just went here. And again, it's what are you going to do, right? Like, are we going to, 2-3 years ago, we're averaging a 12th place finish. We're beating, a lot of the competition. We're really the first car behind the big cup teams or the cup affiliated teams. And then, your Jordan Andersons have come in and AM Motorsports and just some of these smaller teams. Let me tell you, Jordan Anderson is serious. He's got the sponsorship. He's spending the money. He will be in the sport for a long time to come. That race team will be. So those guys, man, they're coming in and they're getting sponsorship dollars and they're getting money. And, last year we're average 20th place finish, so we're doing what it takes to step up and, whether you got to drop a race, whatever it is, we're making sure as sponsors that we're going to give Jeremy the best opportunity on the track. But I mean, kind of to answer your question, I reach out, I put feelers out all the time, hey, would you be interested in, jumping on the car with me? And one of my best friends, he jumped on the car at Homestead with me. So again, we're, as far as primary sponsorship though, we haven't really had to do that. Other than Tate. I mean, Tate came in and filled a huge gap. And with him and Alliance or him and Impel, what they're going to do this year and me taking a step back, right? I'm going to take a step back and only do 2. So somebody has to pick up that third race that I was doing. And Constantine with Nordic, he's jumping on, Dover was one of the races last year that was a little bit harder to fill. And that's another challenge as well. Like, at what track, what track are the sponsors going to sponsor? We all, if you put us in a ring to see who would get the first Darlington throwback race, we would all box. I want that race so bad, but I did for so long, and finally I just said, screw it, I'll start running throwbacks wherever I want to. So, but Darlington's one of the tougher ones to jump on. You kind of got to be grandfathered in there. And then Steve, he had a real special thing with Jeff Bodine last year, so he was able to get that. One of the coolest weekends ever of being at the racetrack. Getting to hang out with Jeff Bodine, just unbelievable. And for Steve Carnes, he was a diehard Kurt Busch fan, and then he grew up. He traveled the country with his dad watching Jeff Bodine. And we're literally standing on pit road while you got Jeremy, you got Jeff, and you got Steve, and Kurt Busch is standing right here. And then Jeff ends up getting Kurt to come over and, like, in Steve's element, right? Like, in that moment, he's got his 2 favorite drivers standing next to him, so that was a really cool experience at Darlington. Just to get to do that with Jeff and just take that race experience to a whole different level.
So what's it like to do the NASCAR process for the day of the race when you have that many people that you bring to Atlanta? Like, you got your credentials and everything like that. Like, how does that all work?
So luckily, I mean, I tell you, there's a good story with everything. I actually got to know Abby, who is, she kind of is the manager of the credential trailer or whatever. And I had brought a handful of people to the race last year, and one of them set his beer down right in front of her, and was like, "Yeah, I'm here to get my grid pass or whatever." And she's like, "You're not going on the grid. You've been drinking." And so she looked at me and she's like, "You really brought somebody up here with just drinking in front of me?" And luckily, though, that ended up working out because I ended up taking all the credential people like churros from a Mexican restaurant in Phoenix, the last race of the year, and so they've gotten to know me real well. So I'll email Abby and she'll get me all my credentials ahead of time, and I just go pick them up. We'll have to I have to rent golf carts, and I had one golf cart at the Atlanta race last year, and that was, probably shuttling people in and out of the racetrack, 2 hours before the race. This year I got two golf carts at Homestead, and I actually had two of the guys who work for us drive in and out. That way I can get them at the hauler. I can kind of walk them through the hauler, show them the process, let them meet the pit crew and Dave and Jeremy's dad, and just all the people associated with the team. And then I was at Atlanta. I was dropping a handful of people off to Jeremy and the toter, and having him sign their autograph. And I'm like, "All right, buddy, I'll see you in a little bit. I'm gonna go get the next group." And I just leave Jeremy with them. This year I didn't have to do that. I had a little more help. I know Jeremy probably didn't appreciate me very, that much for all that, but it's kind of comes with the territory a little bit. That's what everybody's there for around that hauler, right? They're there for Jeremy Clements. So it's his show.
So one other question, Ray, I was thinking of, obviously the economy is not the greatest right now. Racing is expensive, and you were saying with the increased expenses by leasing race engines and everything, how is it as a sponsor to sell that to your company or to a prospective partner or whatever to sponsor a race car? I know you could use it for like a tax purposes for like advertisement or whatever, but how hard is it to sell that in general?
Yeah, it's tough, because if there was one owner of Flying Form, it'd be easy, right? You spend your money how you want to. That's kind of what Chuck does, right? Chuck and his son own All South. We have multiple owners and partners, and so it's a little tougher to get everybody on board. We've got the president of our company. Racing just isn't his thing, right? And so he just doesn't. At first, he didn't understand it. Really, like I said, this has evolved for me. I've obviously I build high-rise buildings for a living, right? That's what I do. I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not, other than just going to the racetrack and sitting in the stands and camping all weekend and doing that thing. That's what we did. Your first couple of years, it was just really cool to sponsor a race car and get the pit passes and all those things. But there does come a time where it's okay, where do you want this to go, right? And for me, I love this. This is one of the coolest things that I've ever been able to be a part of and be able to do. And it's really cool to see how much work you put into something and it pay off like this. And so we had to sit down and kind of look, or I sat down a couple of years ago and just kind of had to take a look and go, okay, how can we make this make sense? And it just not be cool. So, and actually what kind of sparked that idea is we had what we call a scope meeting where we run through a scope checklist with a client or someone who wants to hire us. And that particular job was a $24 million job. And so we're running through our scope list, you know, and we're checking the boxes. And the line item right before we signed to say we're gonna accept this job, we're gonna do this job, was Flying Form Racing swag. So they wanted hats, shirts, all those things, and it was like, wait a second, this is it. You know, this is, so we don't, it doesn't, you know, seeing a Flying Form car go around the racetrack doesn't get us work. If anything, it probably makes our clients think, hey, you guys make too much money. So the front end of it doesn't, that's not where it pays off for us. It's the back end where that estimator who's talking to my chief estimator. And you know, our competition is $200,000 lower than we are. Well, we want to take that estimator for that client. We want to take him to that race to give him that lifetime experience. And it's like a Homestead with this race car. Yeah, there you go. What I did is I had, I don't know, 10, 15 of these made, and they were sitting in the hauler. And as I brought my clients in to meet Jeremy signed their die cast and he gave it to them. And so they take this die cast and they set it right where I am. And when they're sitting there having a conversation with our estimator, and they've got Flying Form, who they know is going to do the best job, they've got United Forming, who's not going to do the best job, but they're $200,000 low. Well, on a $10 million to $15 million job, that $200,000 we can cut in a heartbeat, right? We don't want to. It gets into our profit a little bit, or we're in business to make money. So that guy's going to look at that race car. He's going to think about that experience, and he's going to want to give us that job or give us the inside track of that job because we created that relationship, and we showed him a time that maybe a competitor couldn't. So that for me is how I found how to make this make sense. And we are, we are coming into kind of a rough economy. Last year, things kind of planed out for us a little bit. And this year, we got, luckily, the Miami market for us is booming. We have $100 million worth of work down there. But Atlanta, we're building the tallest building in Atlanta in 30 years. We're just started it. And we have that. And then I believe I have a job in Charlotte coming up, a 44-story, coming up around June. But other than that, there's not a whole lot going on. We're hoping fourth quarter, maybe things take off a little bit for us. But, obviously as the economy goes, sponsorship goes as well. I mean, if the economy tanks and there's no money coming in, there's no money to sponsor Jeremy, right? So, so we want to try to avoid that the best we can. And, maybe somebody does see that Flying Form race car going around the racetrack and say, man, them boys must do a really good job. And we need to get them on the phone.
So Ray, you wanna do some sharing of some pictures?
Let's do it. They'll come with some good stories. So are we going to jump into the shoes? Oh, by the way, well, first, a couple things real quick. So I had a bet for going into the later part of the college football season, and I was hoping Georgia and Florida State would meet for the national championship, and that obviously didn't happen. But I made a bet that I would wear a jersey or I would do something, and we're a little late. And I hadn't been able to make that happen because of my travel schedule. And I'm supposed to say something of to the nature of the Bulldogs, but I can't do it. So I will say the Bulldogs beat my Florida State Seminoles, my third string Florida State Seminoles. And so there's that.
You can blame that on the transfer portal.
Well, hey, listen, man. We have picked up 5 players from Alabama in the transfer portal. Mike, Florida State, we got the transfer portal. I'm all for it, but there's not so much Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I didn't mean transfer portal on the, and the draft, the players going to the draft, not
Oh
the
yeah.
transfer portal. My bad. Sorry about that.
Well, you know, and I get it, but uh, yeah, you know, you got your you got your whole career ahead of you, and the last thing you want to do is go play in a bowl game that doesn't mean anything, right? So that college football's got some things to figure out, and they will. They will. They're already going to figure it out with this 12 team playoff. That'll help make things a little bit better. But my Seminoles, we might have got shafted a little bit, but
Should have been fourth.
I'm talking about a lot of it.
well, you know, sometimes things like that make you a lot better in the long run. And I know that the boosters in Florida State have said they will build a juggernaut. That was their exact words. So when she said, "Go give me a go, dogs," no, I said it. There you go. I lost my train of thought. My apologies.
It's all because of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh, that's so dumb. Let me go on record and say those are the most obnoxious college football fans ever. So that's how I feel about Georgia Bulldog fans, even though I grew up around the outside of the Athens area. So I feel like I can say that because most all my friends are Bulldog fans.
So how did you become such a big Florida State fan then?
I had garnet and gold put on my ass in the hospital when I was born. So my grandfather graduated from Florida State. He just passed away middle of December. He was 92. And one of the things that my grandma gave me was his Florida State class ring. And so that was, you know, that's pretty cool. I didn't go to Florida State. My life took me down a different path other than college. And then my uncle is a professor there. So it's kind of, you were either Florida State or you were a Florida Gator. Luckily, I got the right side of it. I feel like, and being growing up in Atlanta, you got the Falcons, you got the Braves, who had a dynasty and only had one championship in that dynasty, and the poor Atlanta Hawks. I pull for all of them, and you know, Tom Brady and the Patriots broke my heart quite a few years ago. I've never been so disgusted in my life to blow a 28-3 lead. You know, the Falcons not bring a championship home. So, you know, luckily we've got the Florida State Seminoles to hang our hats on, and then you know Jeremy Clements, he's bringing a Daytona championship home to us too. So, where else were we before we got to the Bulldogs? You asked a question.
We were getting ready to start showing the pictures, but you said hold on.
Yeah. Let's do pictures. See, this is what you guys knew you were getting in for. I will squirrel.
You were prepared.
Yeah, so this is going to be a giveaway question. So, you know, we got on Twitter this week and we said we would give away the OGO Flying Form book bag and then this whiskey gift set signed by Jeremy, Woodford Reserve. I think we'll do the shoes. We'll put the book bag on the shoes. So these are Mellows, and these will run at the Darlington race. This is Woody's Booze Pop car, and I match the paint scheme. I match my shoes with the paint scheme at every race I go to. And how in the world I found these shoes, I got no clue. But as soon as I saw them, I knew what the Booze Pop car looked like. Man, killed it with these. So there's the giveaway for the book bag. You've got to know that these are Mellows, and they were for the Booze Pops car at Darlington.
The funny thing about that car is I actually have the back or the rear bumper of that car in my room at work.
That is so funny. You should see the way people look at me when I wear that, when I walk down pit road or in the garage with the shoes on. I think people are starting to get used to me now though, because I wear some pretty wild shoes. So, and then you guys, man, you guys didn't give me enough credit on my shoes. I think Bobby said uh, his wife had 50 pair, and I was probably around there. And I can't remember who said, "Man, you're comparing a man to a woman." Well, y'all were way off.
That wasn't me. I just want to make that clear.
No,
But
that
I,
was me and
but
Scott.
I did discuss with Bobby earlier in the week when we knew you were coming on. After Tig was on last week and he had the boxes of the Nike empty, the boxes stacked up, the Nike tennis shoes. I told Bobby I'm gonna have to go get a bunch of boxes of shoe boxes and put them around me.
I think Tig's trying to take a little of my thunder.
I think he was too, honestly.
Well,
So how
go.
many shoes do you have?
there's between 130 and 150 pair.
Wow.
So
I was way off.
yeah, way off. Yeah, and the only reason I don't know is because we got a lake house, and I've probably got 10 pair over there roughly. I was going to share a picture with you guys, but I thought better of it. So yeah, there's you got to though if you go to the. Luckily, Chuck and Scott with All South, they run the same paint scheme all year, so I can buy one pair of shoes for their cars, and that's great. So, and then Woody with Booze Pops, he's I got that car covered. So, but when that kind of started, when that kind of caught a little steam, it was a little expensive. And then I was actually sitting down having dinner one night. Last night, Mexican, and we were walking through what that cost, and I think there's $24,000 at $200 a pair on average, and I think I about got sick to my stomach. When you think about it like that. So,
So Jamie says you should see his closet.
yeah, Jamie's been there. He's seen. So there's a lot of Jordans. There's a lot of Jordans, and my daughter's not far behind me. Well, I say not far behind me. She's 14, and she's kind of getting to that age where I guess it's kind of cool. So I think she got about 10 pairs of shoes for Christmas this Christmas. We basically had a shoe Christmas. And so she's trying to follow in her daddy's footsteps, and I'm not mad about it.
So you get these shoes like custom made, or do you just how do you come across these?
No. The answer to that for the most part is no. Now, I would have custom shoes done for my daughter's cheer competitions, and you could go to Nike.com and the Nike ID, and a few years ago you could make just about anything with any color combination you wanted to. It's kind of gotten a little bit tougher. They've kind of narrowed down the types of shoes that you can do, and they've even narrowed the colors. So, man, I just shop. I get on eBay and try, or I'm always swinging through Hibbett Sports or the mall or whatever, and just kind of keeping my eyes peeled. So, I don't know. I don't know where it all started. I was having this conversation trying to figure it out. When I was a kid, my dad you get ready to go to school. It's 1st of August, and you want to have your fresh starter jacket, your fresh Florida State starter jacket, and I wanted Deion so bad. Back then that's probably $100, and my old man was like, I'm not paying $100 for a pair of shoes. You crazy? So I typically didn't get the shoes I really, really, really wanted when I was a kid. So I guess I'm making up for it now. There you go. That's a rain delay. That was actually such a good time. We had canopy up and the sides, the plastic sides all around the pit box. We were enclosed in, and we were having a good old time with Mark and his daughter. And I don't remember who else was up in there with us. Jeremy was in there with us for a little bit during the rain delay, and we were parked, or our pit stop, our where we were pit on pit road. The drain in the pit wall was right in front of our pit box. So we were, things were floating away. So that's
that at Darlington.
Yeah, that was Darlington.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, Mark and Mark's gonna love me for this one. I get to tell on him a little bit, and I can before I kind of really dive in. Mark Nelson and Mark Mullen, they had such a good time last year, just with the races and the fellowship. Mark Nelson, he always uses the word fellowship, and that sticks with me. He is that guy. He talked about going to Sonoma and renting this house with like however many acres, right? That's what Mark does. He gets the chef and he does it to a T. And he invited us out to Phoenix. I think the house was like 12,000 square feet, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong about that, I'm wrong. But you walk through this big, massive house, then you go out back, and there's this incredible pool, and then the jacuzzi, and then the guest houses and gym behind it. I mean, it was just massive. But Mark and Mark, they invited us to do that. So Mark Mullen, Mark Nelson, their wives, Mark Setzer, his wife, Delaney, his wife, Jeremy, his wife, and then I was the solo guy, but we had the best time in Phoenix. And then we went out to do side by sides, and we we were in there, and they were running through all the stuff with us. Don't go over 45 miles an hour. Don't do donuts. Like all these rules. You got GPS. It's going to let us know if you go over 45 miles an hour, and we'll penalize you. We'll charge you. And we left that parking lot on two wheels, every one of us, and we go through these mountains. And one thing we learned about Ryan Delaney with Fox Sports is he actually raced side by sides for a good little bit. And so he was doing donuts. We were all doing donuts, and we were acting like crazy people so much that we actually got separated. And so me, Mark Mullen, and Mark Nelson were in the side by side, but together, and then we all had our own side by sides. And I was behind them, and we got separated from Jeremy, Ryan, and Mark. So we're just kind of going on the path that we thought they were telling us to go, and we're driving like idiots. And we have to go up like this tabletop, almost like up this mountain, and we get up there, and we're probably 15, 20, 25 minutes up the mountain. And I don't know if the weight, Mark Mullen's a little bit heavier than Mark Nelson is. And so I'm right behind them, and they get a little squirrely. And all of a sudden I see it go up, and I'm like, they're not going to go. And then all of a sudden it leaned, and it went over. And I'm back there going, yes, yes. I was so excited. They had put the side by side on its side. And then I'm like, well, let me go check on it. And so I get out, and I go up to the side by side, and there is blood everywhere. And it went from having a good time to, oh, weird. This is bad. This is really bad. So I pull Mark Mullen out, and then Mark Nelson is suspended, and I had to end up getting him out. And Mark's hand is Mark Mullen. His hand is in the moment. Yeah, there you go. Oof. You don't know it's crushed. You don't know what. Yeah, here we go. If you got a weak stomach, you just want to look away.
So viewer discretion is advised, because this is, I'm gonna show it and then I'm gonna flip it off, so it's gonna be on very short.
Oh yeah. Look. Yeah, so Mark is holding this hand up in the air while we're, trying to make it back down the mountain. And he's just going, "Oh, it hurts. It hurts." And I'm like, "Man, listen, I'm trying to manage going fast versus like, the faster you go, obviously it's jarring because we're in like, the desert. And so we probably run 10, 15 minutes until we get to that tabletop. And we had to go down that tabletop. And poor guy, I mean, he was screaming and moaning and, oh, it hurts. It hurts. We get down to the bottom get down the mountain and we get down to the kind of river. And luckily there was a doctor there, off-duty doctor. So he got Mark cleaned up. We called an ambulance. Mark went to the ER. And so went back, met up with Mark Nelson. We ended up, taking our ride back down, and pulling into, into the place that rented us the side-by-sides. And I pull up and I thought it was, well, no, Mark Nelson was driving theirs. So they're, their side and what split Mark's hand open was the mirror. So the side mirror, when it rolled, that's what split him open. His hand wasn't crushed. He had a pretty gnarly cut. But Delaney's side by side, he had laid his on his side as well. And we walk in and those guys said, we knew all of you guys were not coming back. Like we knew at least one of you was not coming back. So that Phoenix trip was one of the best times. Mark Mullen, I mean, he was a trooper. He made it out of the hospital. He came back and, hung in the rest of the weekend. And Mark Nelson got us a chef. The chef came in and cooked this like 5-course meal. And we just had the best time in Phoenix. So that was our Phoenix trip. One for the ages. There you go. That was when it was all starting. So that was the first night I think we were there. What a good time. And that's just kind of, from Phoenix to Chicago, us going to Chicago and doing NASCAR night with Jeremy. And there was no rent a car in Chicago. It was, you got to the hotel, you walked to the track, you walked 1,000,000 miles that weekend, but we all stayed in the same hotel room. We all rode the train or whatever it was to Wrigley Field and did that. I mean, getting close to Tate and, and getting to hang out with him. Chicago was a really, really cool experience. That's what I remember from Chicago. I didn't even get to watch any racing, really. We flew out Sunday morning because the race was Saturday. It wasn't the race that made it for me. It was hanging out with everybody and just getting to enjoy, some personal time with everybody. So, yeah, that's and then that's Indy, and Indy has become a really special place for us as well. St. Elmo's is a steakhouse in Indy, and literally NASCAR takes that place over. We were sitting next to Matt Collig and his date, Chris Rice and his date, and then AJ and Tara. They were sitting directly next to us. And I gotta watch what I say about this story. Mark Mullen, everybody had a pretty good bit to drink, and I don't drink. So Mark Mullen is telling some pretty colorful stories, and AJ, I know that they like looked up a couple times and were like, "Who are these guys we're sitting next to?" So that was, but St. Elmo's is a great time. They have the best cocktail sauce and probably the hottest cocktail sauce you'll ever try. I mean, you eat a piece of shrimp with this cocktail sauce and you will have tears rolling. But St. Elmo's Indy has become such a must go to for us within the team. It's a real special racetrack. And then actually this picture, we were able to, the Indy cars raced before we raced that day. So we actually got to watch a race with Jeremy. That does not happen, right? Because normally Jeremy, I mean, hey man, this is his job, right? The last thing he wants to do is stick around on Sunday for a cup race. He's not doing that. So to be able to watch the Indy cars and actually watch Jimmy Johnson in an Indy car as well, that was a real cool day. Just being able to kind of get to hang out with our driver and actually get to watch some racing.
So do we wanna go with the next picture or no?
Oh yeah, we're ready. Oh wait, which picture is
Text it to you.
it? Is it the
It's
Is it-
the Atlanta. We're still talking about Jeremy. We're not talking about your stuff yet.
yeah, let's hang on to that for the end of the podcast. How about that?
Yeah, we can do that. All right.
Let's see. Man, y'all hit me for most of my stories. I know one thing, y'all asked about the party track. Talladega.
Besides Talladega.
Listen, you can't, that I heard that. And I'm like, you can't do that. Talladega, you don't go to Talladega for the race. You just don't. You go for the Talladega Boulevard. But then I hear that Michigan gives it a run for its money. So I gotta make a trip to Michigan soon.
I'm telling you that I've been there for 10 years, 11 years, and it has been by far the best experience ever, but I've never been to Talladega.
Gosh.
I want to go so bad, but I'm telling you, Michigan, I think will give you a run for your money. Those people get wild.
Yeah. So me and my crew would go on Wednesday. We'd get to Talladega on Wednesday, and we would stay till Monday. And my buddy Jamie, who's the moonshine guy, who got me hooked up with Jeremy to begin with, he is everybody's friend, and we meet. I feel like every party spot on the boulevard, we know who those people are because of him. And Jamie wakes up with a beer in his hand. And, so it's you get there Wednesday afternoon, you drink till midnight. And then it got to the point to where they would stay up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. That's just not what I'm doing. And so they would always mess with me because I would always, they'd come have some girl get in bed with me, mess with me, just messing with me. And or they'd pull some prank. And so it got to the point to where one night out of the weekend, I would watch the sun come up. And I would tell them, guys, I have fulfilled my duty at Talladega. And y'all do not mess with me the rest of the weekend. But Talladega is one for the ages for sure. But it is a little bit different now that I don't drink anymore. So I typically, and with the sponsorship, it's kind of work, right? You roll in, you do, you go do the pictures by the race car pre-race and kind of show your support for whoever is on the car that weekend, which Talladega is typically Chuck and Scott, and I am typically on the race car with them as an associate. So you roll in, roll out, and on to the next week. But definitely need to come check Michigan out for sure. And actually, with the Cup cars running as well as they did on the bigger tracks this year, that's very attractive to me. Who's running Michigan? Who's on Michigan this year?
I think it's June.
Wings Etc's got it.
Yeah. So that's Scott. Man, Scott's a good dude, and we support him in Indy. He's normally on the car in Indy.
I know.
So Michigan, I guess I'll have to make a trip to here real soon.
Well,
Michigan is in August, right, Bobby?
yeah, it's
That's when I'm going to be in Arizona then.
right. So you have Indy, and then you're off for almost a month, and then you got Michigan because of the Olympics.
That's gonna be weird.
It's gonna be very weird. Well, if you end up coming up to Michigan, let me know.
Yeah. I don't know this year. I say I'm gonna rein it back a little bit. I know 2 years, not this past year, but the year before, I think I did like 22 races. That's a lot, especially getting on an airplane and going and doing your day job weekly, and then flying to a racetrack or driving to a racetrack, and then from December to May, I travel for my daughter's cheerleading. So we go Dallas, Indianapolis, Myrtle Beach twice, Charlotte twice, Atlanta twice, and then Orlando is the World Championships. So there's a lot of traveling involved when it comes to the things that I enjoy doing.
Speaking of your daughter and the cheer stuff, how is it like being a cheer dad?
Man, cheer dad's crazy. One of my really good friends who I met through cheerleading. We were in Charlotte this past weekend for a cheer competition, and his, let me think about how to explain this. So his daughter cheers, his son is a wrestler, and they had wrestling and cheerleading on Saturday at the same time. And he told his wife, "You go to wrestling, I'll bring Kenzie to cheer." So that's, being a cheer dad is a serious job. And yeah, so my daughter's been competitive cheerleading for God almighty, 7-8 years now. And there used to be a gym in South Carolina called Rockstar Cheer, and we were one of the top gyms in the country. So Rockstar Cheer, the marketing strategy was the teams were band names, and so the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were the two top teams. The older girls, or the older kids. There's men, girls, and boys who cheer in competitive cheer, and right, I don't know, 2 or 3 years in, when we go to these cheer competitions, we have a meet room in these convention centers. All the teams have their meet rooms, and there would be crowds of like hundreds of cheerleaders outside of our meet room. And it was because there was a couple little girls and little boys that were on the Beatles, and they had a YouTube channel, or they had social media, and they were famous on social media, so to speak. And these kids would, it was like Taylor Swift walking out of our meet room, basically, right? You had all these little cheerleaders, crazy. And so for us to be able to kind of like, be in the same room or the same gym with those kids, it really added fuel to the fire to just kind of the cheerleading in general. And it doesn't hurt when my daughter's as good as she is. She can flip and do all the things all over that mat. This year was our first year high school cheerleading, and she did the competitive stuff. And she's in 8th grade. She's not even in high school, and she was on the varsity cheer squad and the best kid on the team. And so it's really cool, and it's really neat. She makes it super easy to be be that cheer dad that's there every competition to support her and wear my cheer shoes, wear my pink LeBrons or my pink Air Maxes or whatever it is. So we got to match the cheer uniforms as well if we're going to do the race cars.
Well, I saw you posted something the other day from, I'm assuming it was the Charlotte competition, the Gucci gang and some black and was it gold shoes or something like that?
Yeah. So we not even going to go into the Rockstar stuff, but Rockstar ended up not being a thing anymore, and so a cheer gym opened in our community, and they called it Designer Athletics. So kind of the same marketing, right? You got Gucci, you got Dolce and Gabbana, you got Fendi. Those are the teams. So my daughter is on the level 5 team, which is the highest level our gym goes to, and they're the Gucci gang. So you know, of course, I would have to get into having to buy some freaking Gucci swag. So that's what drives Gucci shirts and those shiny Jordans. They're shiny black and white and gold, and they match your uniform as well. So it's fun. It's fun. It's crazy. You go spend so much money for 2.5 to 3 minutes, 6 minutes total in a weekend, right? You go jump on an airplane, go to Dallas. But when those girls get their jackets or their rings, last year, we were like, Triple Crown was talked about, which is kind of a big feat in the cheerleading world if you hit the 3 big competitions. So Cheer Sport in Atlanta, which is one of the 3 big ones, it falls Daytona weekend, opening weekend of Daytona. And it kills me because every year, the first Daytona, Burgess was there's a Thomas Burgess. They had a bar down in Daytona called Burgess, and they were on the car with Jeremy as an associate every Daytona race for I don't know how many years. But they're very well known in the Daytona area, and so whether we go to the 504 Club or whatever it is, everybody goes there the night after the race or the night of the race, after we get done racing, because he's not partaking or indulging the night before the race. So we got to wait till, we race on Saturday, and then he's okay with going out. So they always go to these clubs in Daytona, first Daytona of the year. And you know who I hadn't talked about? Rob and Abby with Whitetail. So Rob and Abby, awesome people. Rob does so much for Jeremy Clements Racing with Sticky Gears and for the fans to get you guys or get all the fans as much merch and swag opportunity as possible. And Abby, she's such a good friend as well. I'm gonna squirrel real quick, so y'all reel me back in a second. But my daughter wanted to go see Morgan Wallen more than anything, and she wanted that for Christmas. And funny story was I asked her one day, I'm like, Charlie, who is she? Like, who is she? And she looked at me like, are you serious? Morgan Wallen. Ah. And so I get on the pre-sale to get these tickets in Atlanta. And long story short, I didn't get tickets. Well, Abby had gotten tickets. So, she had them up on StubHub, I think, for $700-800 a piece. So, because that's what they were going for. And that's not what she paid for them, but that's what she was going to sell them for. And to make sure Charlie was able to go to Morgan Wallen, she gave me tickets for basically face value. So now I did have to fly out there to y'all's great state of Wisconsin, and we flew up to Wisconsin and we watched the concert in the Brewers Stadium. But anyway, I can't believe I almost forgot Rob and Abby. They are, Rob does so much for the team as well. He's on the car every week, and again, amazing people. Rob was the one in Daytona that fell off the pit box, and it wasn't 2 hours later. There's a meme of like the old Road Runner and Wile E. Coyote that I'm not even going to try to make the sound, but and that was, they had put that on the clip of Rob coming down off the pit box. So that was fun stuff. So yeah, we can probably get to that Daytona win and that party here shortly. So anyway, yeah, I squirreled on you though, so I apologize. We were talking about cheerleading, I guess, but yeah, I forgot where we were. I knew that was going to happen.
That's all right. You answered the question about the cheerleading anyways. And the next question I was going to ask you is, what has been your favorite moment at the track as a sponsor for Jeremy Clements Racing? So I think that would probably lead right into the Daytona. It would be my guess.
Yeah. Let me think if I can find a close second. Man, every race we're able to attend and just be, in the position that we are, it doesn't get any better than that. But that Daytona win, crazy, man. And it's so my story is, I go get my little Airbnb or whatever, which it was a spinoff of the hotel that was on the ocean. They just had across the street, they had like a little building or whatever, or house almost. They converted into a hotel room. And I got it, and I'm checking in, and they give me this parking pass, and my room number is 51. And I'm like,
what are the odds of that?
Oh yeah. So I'm like, this is so cool. I'm telling them, checking in, I'm with the 51 team, this is, she said, see, it's just meant to be. And then, so I'm talking to Jeremy, telling Jeremy, where I'm staying, whatever. And he said, that's Courtney's favorite place to stay. She loves that place. It's her favorite place to stay. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Well, just keep plugging away through the weekend. Right. And, lo and behold, so we're sitting there on the pit box, and just, man, just the weirdest feeling, especially that wreck, that day, what Jeremy called the Days of Thunder wreck, right? We had, I think a few weeks before that, we'd been caught up in a wreck, sitting on the pit box, same way, can't see what's going on, and we didn't make it, right? So like, as soon as that wreck happens, it's all, that's it, another one, let's pack up, take the headset off and call it a weekend. And he came across and said, whoa, we made it, or something like that. At that moment, it was like chills came over us, and it was like, man, what's going on? And then, the way things just happened, with AJ running out of gas and Austin Hill having the alternator issues or whatever they were. I remember standing on the pit box and getting off, because I knew if we won, I was going to fall off. And it was actually Rob that ended up making that fall. But man, like, just, I remember like standing there behind Tony, and I didn't even realize that the cameras were on us. I was looking up at the big screen. We were listening, it was delayed, right? Like, nobody knew that we had won. We thought we won, but we're waiting for word. And I'm standing behind Tony, and looking back on it, if you go watch, the replay or whatever, they've got me jumping up like a crazy person and then hugging the pit crew. All that's on TV, and that's super cool. But I remember like Jeremy coming to the start finish line and getting ready to do his burnouts, and I'm like on pit road, and I'm like waiting for somebody to make a move. Somebody make a move. And I think one of the pit crew guys, it might have been John. started running towards the car. And I was like, this is Daytona. And I just hauled ass. And you know, we're all, you know, you turn around and it's like, holy shit, everybody came out here, you know? And so we're all standing out there at the car, and I've got videos that I didn't even know that I had taken of me running, and they're on my Facebook, but me running out to the car, and just to be there in that moment was like just so surreal. And you know, obviously, like everybody said, it's 1:30 in the morning or something, and so victory lane wasn't as jumping as it probably should have been. Those people that were working victory lane, they were upset, irritated, and mad that they were there at 1:30 in the morning. So, you know, they were giving me a little bit of a hard time on being back there, and I'm not necessarily the most I'm not shying away from that confrontation. Let's put it that way, right? So especially with the amount of money we spend. So, you know, that was our moment. And I remember standing there thinking like, man, there's no beer here. Like, we're supposed to be dumping beer on Jeremy, you know, like what is going on? And so, you know, we're victory lane, we go do all that. We go back to Scott's Motor Coach, and that's kind of, well, actually, before we get to Scott's Motor Coach, we're back. They're you know, checking Jeremy's car, you know, going through the final tech, which everything was good at the track. I'm FaceTiming Steve Carnes because he's not there. You know, we've woken up everybody, woke my dad up. We won. And like, I'm like, you know, nobody has poured beer on Jeremy yet. So we always have beer in the hall. So I finally grabbed a couple beers and I went behind Jeremy and poured beers on Jeremy, and, you know, got to do that. Go back to Scott's. Fun story is, I don't know if it's been told on the podcast or not, but Jeremy is trying to leave the track, and he picked somebody up who needed a ride outside the track to their car. And the security guards wouldn't let Jeremy through a gate. And Jeremy's like sitting there and he's like, you mean the winner of the race can't get through the gate? And they were like, oh my God. So they let Jeremy through the gate or whatever. So that was fun part of that story. But I know we get back, we hang out with Scott. Everybody's obviously, it's like Mark Mullen said, that race started early, or supposed to start early. So obviously everybody's pre-gaming. You know, when you start talking about 1:30 in the morning and them boys been drinking all day long, they were feeling pretty good. So I know I got back to the hotel, and I went on the beach and I sat down and just watched the sun come up and just kind of reflected on what in the world had just happened. And then I ended up going back to the room, laying down for a few minutes, and I couldn't sleep. I was still just so jacked up. So we ended up going and getting breakfast, me and a couple other people, and then get the phone call. Jeremy's like, hey, we got to be at the Bergies at whatever, you know, be there at 4:00 or whatever it was. And so we ended up going over there and celebrating the Daytona win over there. And there was a ton of people there. And then I'm like, okay, haven't been to sleep yet, right? Like it's getting time to go to bed. And Thomas Burgess said, no, we're going to go to the 504 Club downtown on Main Street. I've got it all set up. We got a section roped off all for us, you know. So we go downtown, walking down Main Street with the Wawa 250 trophy. And we go into the 504 Club. These people are, you know, you're like rock stars, right? Like all these people are looking at us like, who are they? And we're down there hanging out. And we do that until 2 a.m. and until that place closes and everybody's like, all right, next door to the strip club. And we're like, what? And of course I'm like, no way, man, no way. Like I'm on like 44 hours of no sleep at this point. I am exhausted, but we go to the strip club. Trophy gets passed around, you know, stage and all the good things like that. So the trophy saw the strip club, and then we leave, and I think it's finally over. And Courtney's like, let's go get pizza next door. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I think I ended up going 46 hours without sleep on that Daytona win. But man, what a moment. What a moment. You know, I know Road America was a special win for those guys because it was the first win, but there is no win like a Daytona win. Daytona is Daytona. And, you know, I don't think it matters if it's the February race or the July race or August race or whatever it is now. It's Daytona. And I know to go back to Daytona for the rest of my life, to know that I ran across that grass and I stood there at the start finish line and got to celebrate a win. That is, man, you can't put money on that. So that is, man, as a race fan, like going to races, you know, we started, you know, in a pop-up tent, you know, or a pop-up camper. I mean, we started with a tent, we upgraded to a pop-up camper, and just to know we had $0, you know, $0. We scrounged up whatever we had to get the tickets to Talladega or Atlanta and go spend the weekend at a race. To where things are now, it's pretty cool. Sometimes you got to pinch yourself to realize, you know, hey, man, you're really sitting in the seat you're sitting in.
So Ray, I'm gonna share this screenshot or this share screen for a second. I'm assuming this is you at Daytona.
So that is, oh my goodness, whose phone is that? So there's Rob. Rob is that's Rob right there. Yeah, maybe this is Abby's phone.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Somebody set their camera up, their phone up, so we could take a big group picture, and I snuck in and took one. Yeah, that's funny. That's super great.
So there's this, and then this is the video. I don't know if we're gonna be able to play the sound, but there's the video after.
Oh yeah, well, if you're worried about language on the show, definitely there was some F-bombs dropped here. But yeah, so he stalls out here, and I actually helped push the car off. You can't see that. I think I ended up putting the phone down or whatever. But man, yeah, it's insane that we got to experience that. And I need Jeremy. Yeah, so here he goes. He gets going, he stalls. So me and Mark go push him, and this is where the sound, you know, would come in handy. But
I can maybe try it.
it's all good. He's gone now. But yeah, man, we need him to get a win with that flying form livery on it. Especially at Atlanta. He runs really well at Atlanta. You know, I tell you, you know, probably my second coolest moment, actually, now talking through it, knowing that we put that Hendrick motor in that car last July, and then we're at qualifying, and we go P1, and like, you know, where we typically qualify, we might sit P4, P5, P6, and then, you know, your colleagues or whoever is coming behind you. But for us to sit P1 for like 50, 60% of qualifying or whatever it was, and then obviously we get bumped down to like 6th or 8th or something. But just to know that, you know, man, we're in contention. And then as that race is going, you know, we're sporty. We're running top 10 that first stage. We had a little bit of a pit road mishap, and that got us back in the pack. And then Ty Gibbs was in the back of the pack as well. And the top 12 cars had broken away, and Jeremy and Ty were all by themselves. And lap after lap, they were steadily running faster lap times, catching them. And Ty had even come over the radio and said, and he'd gotten with his spotter and said once we reached the top 12, he wanted Jeremy to work with us or work with him to get up through that pack. And as soon as we got there, he bailed on us, and and Kyle Sieg hung on our left rear, slowed us down a little bit, and that was pretty much, the rest of the race for us. I think we finished 12th or 15th or something like that. But with these motors, we road courses anywhere really. I mean, I really think you take that Bristol car, he could have won Bristol this year if he just, if the things would have worked out. But I think looking at 24 versus 23, we put motors on road courses, we put motors on short tracks, and we put motors on super speedways. Watkins Glen, something ended up happening mechanical, and I think part of it was the fitment of the engine. I could be wrong about that one, but I do know the fitment of the engine at Bristol was, I think, part of the reason why we had that tire rub. I might be completely off, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But anyway, I think where I'm going with this is we worked the bugs out, right? You worked those bugs out in 23 on the short track, on the road course, and there really weren't too many bugs on the super speedways. So in 24, hopefully we got the bugs worked out. Jeremy's got a year of sim data now. We'll be going back to racetracks for a third time. So with the sim data, with 22 motors this year, man, and just if Lady Luck, if old Dale Senior just rained down a little luck on us, we could have a really, really good year and could definitely get back in that win column.
So I think one of the last questions we have, besides for the whiskey giveaway, and the other thing we're going to talk about is how do you come up with the ideas for all your livery designs?
Yeah, this is again, Maselli is amazing, and I don't know how. You guys have gotten a full taste of me through this episode and me going left, right, and everywhere. I do the same thing to Maselli, and I'll give him an idea, and I'll be like, "That's what I want this, and I want this," and I know I frustrate the hell out of him. And the Atlanta flag car, I provided him some pictures on what I wanted that car to look like. And the first year we ran that, we did not have the chrome numbers. The next year we ran it, the chrome numbers were approved by NASCAR, and so I wanted chrome numbers. I mean, the paint scheme, if there's one thing I can give to this series or give to my contribution other than to Jeremy is, man, to be able to design a paint scheme or have a hand in designing the paint scheme is such a big deal for me, and it's just, it means everything to me to be able to do that. So put the chrome numbers, the blue chrome numbers on the car. First time it goes through turn one, they're shimmery and shining, and this is the greatest thing ever. And then after we ran those chrome numbers, it was on from there. And then Steve Carnes put the iridescent chrome numbers, gold chrome, on the Martinsville car, and that's where NASCAR said, we're not doing that. But the flag car, Maselli ended up really coming up with the first scheme with the tower crane and the buildings on the side. and I wanted to clean it up a little bit. Dale Jr. always said the side skirts of the car need to match the race car. And so that's kind of where the white flying form car came from. And then the original one had a red roof with blue chrome numbers or blue numbers. And then I ended up swapping it and putting blue on the C post and running the red chrome numbers. And then we get into the throwbacks, and I wanted the Gray Ghost scheme is by far my favorite scheme, maybe other than the 28 Havoline paint scheme. That's another one that just kind of just badass. And so ran the Gray Ghost scheme, and that was so cool to have people walk up to you on pit road and tell you how badass it is. And then so we did the Buddy Baker throwback. Through the years we've been tweaking. I don't ever want to stay the same. I want to grow, and the RFK cars, they hit those cars out of the park week in, week out. So I want to bring the best paint schemes to the racetrack, and I think what's ended up happening is this made all the other sponsors kind of say, hey, let's do something cool too. So then, you give Maselli, you tell Maselli, I want to do the Sitco car, and for him to flip the 2 and make it a 5. So many people didn't like it, but if you are a race fan, like I'm a race fan, and that 21 is my life number, by the way, too. So like when he did that, to understand the genius behind it was, man, when he did that. And like I've gotten to know Justin Allgaier through the years, and he is, just as good as could be on pit road as well. And he walked up to me and said, "Man, you nailed that one," And so even though I get to take credit for it at the racetrack, it's Maselli putting it on paper, and even being able to take, for that guy to take what's in this brain and put it on those race cars is nothing short of amazing. So, appreciate Michael Maselli so much for putting up with me and my crazy ideas and my last minute ideas. Or for what you've seen, there's probably about 10 schemes out there that have never hit the track that he's produced, and I've just said it just doesn't have that it factor. So I guess going into the paint schemes, this will be our next giveaway on Twitter. So you've got to tell us what car we're going to run at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, the second race of the year, and so we'll unveil our throwback paint scheme for the year for the Atlanta race, and paying homage to the greatest Xfinity Series race car driver in history. Kyle Busch is that guy, but this is the real dude, Mark Martin. So we will throw it back to Mark Martin at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and I am so excited about this, and hopefully we get Mark out to the racetrack. That's I know he's big on his riding his motorhome and all that stuff, but I sure hope we can get him out to the racetrack at Atlanta and just have a cool special weekend and pay homage to him and just be able to say thank you, because without those guys, we aren't racing today.
So Ray, I got a cool thing for you with this Mark Martin. I'm a huge Mark Martin fan. So that livery that you have there was a chassis that Mark ran that was one of his winningest chassis, and the chassis number is JR51.
Shut up.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I looked it up and confirmed it, but it is JR51, and that was that livery.
Well, hey man, see, we had the 51 stuff at Daytona, checked into the hotel. Hotel room was number 51. Maybe we can go out to Atlanta and put that 100 horsepower to them and come out of there with a W.
Yeah, there's actually the reason why I know that is there's a gentleman named Landon Best that refurbished that actual car. He bought it, refurbished it, and I think it was at Las Vegas a couple of years ago. He brought the car to the track, and he let Mark actually drive the car on the track. I think it was at Vegas, and then just recently, Mark bought that car from him back.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Mark actually owns that car now, and I'm assuming in his museum at his dealership in Arkansas. But JR51 was the chassis number for that livery. That it was like his winningest chassis,
Man,
and that was the livery.
Yeah, well, I've been wanting to do something with Mark Martin, with one of his schemes because it matches our colors. That's kind of one of the hard things that I have to play with is when I did the Gray Ghost, I had I didn't think we'd run that car because everybody's so funny about our logo. We're very particular about our logo, and changing the colors on it is kind of a big deal. So for me to approach the guys with the Gray Ghost and them say, man, that's badass, that black and silver. And I might have just given you a little hint, Homestead. It's not going to be a throwback, but I do. We've run a white car at Homestead for all these years. And I don't know, I guess I just think putting a motor in the car, a black and silver car, kind of just screams Dale Senior. It doesn't have to be a throwback, but you just kind of got that intimidator kind of, just want to switch it up, I guess, a little bit. And also I wanted to give a flag car break. I know all of our guys within our company who love going to the races. They love that flag car. But I don't know. You just don't want to run something so much to where it loses its fire. So we'll do a throwback this year at Atlanta, the Mark Martin, and then hopefully we come up with finalize a black. I got some a few prototypes of the black and silver car. It's missing it's missing something, but it's almost there, and I know Maselli will figure it out. So yeah. And then have I forgotten anybody? Oh, the Racing Warehouse. I did want to shout them out. They do so much for us. For me, they make me look good every week, week in, week out. The hats you guys are wearing, the shirts. Well, actually, the shirts are Martin Truex Jr.'s company called Swell Inc. Those guys are in Mooresville, but they do the shirts. But as far as the pullover that you've got on, that's a Racing Warehouse product. Any of my polos, anything that I'm actually wearing to the racetrack on race day, the Racing Warehouse does. Eric, Christy, and and Emily and Rankin, they take care of us. So we gotta give a good shout out to them as well. So I think we've covered some serious ground. I think we got all my notes too. Yeah, we covered some ground tonight. It was a lengthy one.
Yeah. Ray, I want to thank you for doing the giveaways for the backpack, the bottle, or the whiskey gift set, autographed by Jeremy.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We appreciate what you guys are doing, being a small team, and sponsors, man. The sponsors do not get enough. I mean, it's about Jeremy, right? This is about Jeremy. It's about putting him on the racetrack. But it is also nice to see our cars going around the track, with our logos, and the broadcast team just doesn't do the job that they should do. So, getting a podcast out here, being able to talk to the sponsors and letting us tell a little bit of our story, we greatly appreciate it. It means a lot to us, and we hope episode by episode, you guys keep growing, and that's part of the giveaways. We want to help grow the podcast and get an even bigger following for Jeremy and Jeremy Clements Racing.
Well, again, we appreciate it, Ray, and we appreciate all the sponsors that we've had on and have helped us out to get this podcast rolling and to share that information that you just said. So that's our goal. Help out Jeremy as sponsors, get that information out there, and then also to expose the Xfinity series, truck series, and these other racing series that don't get the attention. So
The Xfinity series is the best racing, period, hands down.
I agree 100% too. And yeah, I agree by far.
Not too many people out there have any podcast or any broadcast in general about the Xfinity series.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. I know I know I should have had quite a few people watching, but I'm sure they didn't realize this was going to run about an hour and 50 minutes.
Well, I will say this, we had 21 people watching so far.
Yeah, I got you.
So
Yeah.
that's beat all of our numbers so far.
Yeah, well, that was, me and Carnes might have a little bit of we're competitive. So he's gonna have to do better. But Carnes has got such a good following on Twitter. If I post something, I'll text Jeremy and be like, man, I need you to get the Twitter fingers rolling. Steve, you need to, Race Chaser. I need that Race Chaser following. So yeah.
So next week will be episode 7 on 1/23 of 24, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Our guests are going to be Rick Randall, owner of High Speed Auto, and Ryan Whitaker from Kevin Whitaker Chevrolet.
Yeah, right.
And real quick, you got the 8 p.m. and 7 p.m. thing right. Unlike me earlier today on Twitter, didn't even realize it until Bobby texted me and goes, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I thought, Ray, had thought you messed up. He said, "Oh, all good, brother. We got your back." And then he texted me, and I'm like, "Oh my God."
Oh, I thought it was 7. I thought it was 7 all day. So then I was like, man, it's 8. Oh, this.
Yeah.
I
So
wasn't even going to be ready yet.
Bed and doing the whole Netflix thing.
So, but that's what happened. My mistake. I'm just typing in because obviously I'm in Wisconsin, so I'm in the Central Time Zone. You guys are in the Eastern, so I'm just used to, typing that time, and I didn't even realize I put an E and should have been a C, and yeah, whatever. But it's all good. We got it taken care of.
Right. Well, we'll have to come back on. I don't even think I even said what we did as a company or anything like that. So I have to do that.
No, we're definitely going to have you back on.
100%.
All right. Well, man, I appreciate you guys. Me and Bella here. You want to say, hey, Bella, real quick? We'll give Bella about 5 minutes of love or 5 seconds. There's Bella. That's my pup. She's
Hey,
been
Bella.
side-eyed for about the past 30 minutes, like it's dinner time. Thank you, guys.
Well, we appreciate having you on, Ray.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Hopefully we'll see you at a track this summer.
Absolutely.
All right. What a great interview.
Absolutely.
I didn't even realize it was an hour and whatever.
Hour and 50 minutes so far.
Didn't even realize it. It was like it went by so fast.
Absolutely. And
Really good background into the sponsors of what the sponsors do and how that they all have worked together like Ray said, a puzzle.
right.
And to do the best for Jeremy and his team. Pretty impressive and pretty cool.
Well, episode 6 is in the books. I want to wish Jeremy a happy birthday. Rob.
Yep, happy birthday, Jeremy.
So I want to thank thank our sponsors and supporters, Fly Inform Concrete Structures, Spartan Waste, Runner's Roost, Beach Ridge Barbershop, First Pacific Funding, Elite Towing, Whitetail Smokeless, and Driftless Glen. We're gonna have Justin come on with us as a special guest here and there. We want to wish Scott a speedy recovery. He was involved in a car accident, so wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he's on with us next week. But episode 6 is in the books, and we will see you guys next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central. Y'all have a great night, and we will see you on Podbean hopefully tomorrow afternoon. Y'all have a good night.
Take care, guys.